our passion, our hobby of old cars, muscle cars, cars from the 60s, 70s, gas engines, hot rodding, seems to be going extinct. So welcome to another episode of Junkyards and Barn Finds with Sean, and I'm Sean. Hey guys, I'm outside. It's a drizzly, rainy morning, and it's probably apropos for what I'm going to talk about. And I don't usually do this kind of directly speaking to you, but the last month or two I've been a couple places around the country, to a couple different states, car shows, and auctions. We've been to the Carlisle auction. We've been to the Moultrie swap meets. We've been to Daytona, and I've been to those before. And if you look on the channel, you can see that we go there and we talk a lot about what's going on, and how many people came, what the cars went for. And this time when I was walking around, and this is 2023, one of the things I heard from a lot of people were our passion, our hobby of old cars, muscle cars, cars from the 60s, 70s, gas engines, hot rodding, seems to be going extinct. And if you're watching my show, you're probably in my age group. You're probably a teenager in the 70s or the 80s, or maybe the early 90s. But it seems like these new generations, the swap meets of the future, are going to be about cell phones or sneakers. With the administration that's in the White House right now, they're just pushing all kinds of newfangled things for cars, which they're trying to make laws, just like they're trying to take pizza ovens out of your house. They're trying to take gas engines. Are trying to shut down the guys that build diesel trucks, any kind of blowers, any kind of system. I mean, I think in California it was a crime to take your exhaust system off a car and improve horsepower or any of that kind of stuff. The whole hot rod culture right now is just under attack. And one of the scariest things I saw was at the muscle car classic car auction, that there seemed to be more people there like myself that were videoing than there was buyers. I would say that 90% of the chairs in the auction, the live auction, were empty. Most of the cars didn't sell, and it seemed like the ones that did sell went to dealers. And you don't want dealers being the only people on an open car classic car auction to purchase cars. I watch people like Derek Berry from Vice Grip Garage, when he was doing one of his revivals, stopping at a auto parts store and can't find basic auto parts. And he even said, wow, it feels like our hobby is dying. I mean, he said that on one of the recent videos he put up. And I've heard that from other people too. It's, yeah, parts are going to get old. Look, the cars, the 1960s cars and 70s I grew up with, they're 60 and 70 years old. So it's like me talking in 1980 about a Model T. And I get it. But back when Model T was around, there wasn't all these performance parts. And you're seeing companies just go under and under and under. And it started back a couple decades ago. I mean, I remember when Hurst Equipment, that used to made Hurst shifters, it was in Warminster, Pennsylvania, right near where I grew up. And Hurst was there, and then all of a sudden Hurst disappeared. And then we went to April's dad's house in Michigan, and I remember driving to the airport down I-69, and there was a couple buildings there, and you could see that they used to be performance shops because they still had the name on it, but they weren't there anymore. They were closed. They were no longer. There were shops that made all these performance parts. And so it's kind of like we're getting Walmarted by foreign cars. We're getting Walmarted by Toyotas and Lexus and Nissan, and you know, everything's going to a turbo, which, you know, that may be the future. That may be the future of hot rodding. It may be the savior of hot rodding. I don't know, is all these turbos and electronics and stuff. But even watching a lot of the channels that build these things, I mean, you basically have to almost have a degree in electrical engineering now and computer science to tune your car, to change the oil, you know, to do a tune-up. And then I just saw a video where for these electric cars, you get to choose, I think it was Ford, it might have been Ford, but it could have been Mopar, where they had speakers in the back where the exhaust would be on an electric car, and you could choose which. Did you want the Shelby? Did you want a Hemi? Did you want a 450? Like, you could choose what comes out of your speakers to pretend that you have a car. And guys, that's not hot rodding. I mean, that's not hot rodding. I mean, maybe it is. Maybe I am so old school that I think hot rodding is actually having a car that sounds that way, that purrs that way. But putting speakers where the exhaust should be, and the tune now is actually a tune. It's a tune that somebody recorded and they run it out of your car. Do you know how laughable that would have been 10 years ago, 20 years ago? It's really sad, and I don't see it getting better. I don't see anybody wanting to put in the effort or the time or American manufacturing, or even, listen, hey, GM wants to be all electric. Well, you know what we used to call electric cars? Golf carts. And look, is a Tesla fast? Yeah, Tesla's fast. So is an F-16. But I don't consider either one of them cars. A Tesla, if you drive one, great for you, but you're driving a golf cart. To me, it'll always be a golf cart. If you don't have an internal combustion engine, then you're not driving an automobile. You're driving something, but it's not an automobile. These electric cars are going to be around, but I'm from Fort Myers area, and you know what happened to all those electric cars when salt water hit them? Yeah, they caught fire. Do you know when I walk junkyards, you know how many electric cars I see? I don't see electric cars because the batteries are toxic. The batteries, you can't put an electric car in with these batteries. These batteries are toxic. And you know what? All these cars you see coming out, I don't care whether it's a brand new Lexus, I don't care whether it's a brand new Acura, I don't care if it's a brand new McLaren, honestly. They have so much electronics in them, you're not going to have junkyards. Right now, I could go to a junkyard, probably pull an engine out of a car that's been sitting in a 1973 Ford LTD, pull that engine out, that might have been sitting there since 1982, and rebuild the engine. I could pull the seats out. I could pull the dashboard, and more likely than not, the fuel gauge is going to work. The speedometer cable is going to work. All these mechanical things, and we have lost our ability to foresee things. People are like, oh, we need to go green. What is green about driving a car for 2 or 3 years or 4 years, and when the battery can't be recharged and it costs more than the car to replace the battery, you throw the battery, which is made 90% of plastic and aluminum and crap that just won't go away, and stick it somewhere in a landfill that you can't even put the battery with because the battery is going to pollute it so bad that it's going to be toxic to human beings. I go into some junkyards and you see these newer cars, they're junk. You can't take the screen. You're going to have a whole ton of cars in about 10 years that have these giant black holes in the middle of their dashboard because the screens aren't going to work. Do you ever look at an 84 Corvette that's been sitting in a junkyard? And that screen is, that rudimentary screen, once it sits in a junkyard for a while, electronics go bad. Go put a computer out in your backyard and see if you can revive it after it sits out in the weather for a year or two. Not going to happen. So I don't know what the answer is. And maybe sometimes, because I'm 57 and hey, I got a good 25 years left on this planet. And maybe it's just time. You know, we don't see a lot of buggies that were pulled from horse and buggies. And if somebody wants to call me an old boomer or whatever, I don't really care. Number one, I don't think I am a boomer because I'm born in 66. But even so, I don't care. Because I tell you right now, I flew in the Navy. You're not going to catch me in an electric airplane in my lifetime. No way. It's not going to happen. You think an aircraft carrier is nuclear powered, but you think these civilian Carnival cruise lines and stuff are going to be able to, you know how much the batteries would weigh to be able to have those as electric? Go build a canoe that can travel, see how much that battery weighs, and then times it by 200 tons. It's not going to happen. They're not going to be dependable. You're going to have diesel power. You're going to have diesel power. We had electric trains. You know the infrastructure that it costs to run electric trains instead of diesel electric locomotives? Nobody's thinking this through. All they're thinking is, hey, let's get votes. Some CEO, hey, let's pretend we can go green and run a country. When they were talking about electric tanks, about 7 or 8 months ago, the Pentagon's thinking, whoa, we need electric tanks with this administration. Electric tanks? No, I'll tell you what, give me an M1A1, it'll probably take out all the electric tanks because they don't have extension cords long enough. Their batteries are going to be so heavy, and they're flammable. These batteries in these Teslas go up. Shoot, all you have to do is fly an air tanker over top, drop some salt water on them. Next thing you know, they're going to be all catching fire on their own. You won't even have to waste your ammunition. So, it's just, I don't know what the answer is. I wish I did. You know, I think the answer was where we were probably about 10 years ago, where if somebody wants to drive a Tesla or an electric golf cart on the road, as long as it can keep up with the speed limits and it has the, you know, windshield wipers and headlights and taillights, then that's something they can do. But to sit here and say we're going to not make cars, what are you going to haul these with? Do we have the electric tractor trailers yet? Because I haven't really seen one on the road. So you're still going to have diesel. You're still going to have diesel engines. You're still going to have electric things that are going to have to transport all these cars, all these materials. You have to get these materials from overseas because we don't make them here. So you're going to have ships that are powered by diesel engines. But if we stop making all this fuel because 2% of the country makes enough noise for 60%, it's like having a teenager in the house. The people that actually are the responsible adults, you have a teenager in the house that wants to throw a hissy fit for the next 5 years and doesn't want to get a job and only wants to play on their phone. That's what the U.S. is now. We are one big country of a loud hissy fit teenager. And instead, we should be the two adults and the mom and the dad in the house that are saying, you know what, go to your room. If you want to sit on your phone, you go in there. But if you want somebody to pay for it, you get a job. I'm not paying your phone bill anymore. You could start paying rent now that you're in the house and you're out of high school. And instead, we have a whole government based on, and the CEOs of these corporations that are going, no, you know what? We need to listen to the teenager. No, you don't. The economy of this country needs to get back to work. A, building cars. B, having natural fuels for vehicles. The internal combustion engine. Because I can tell you right now, when you're stuck in the woods and your little Tesla got wet because it flooded last night, where you had your blow-up camp made by, I don't know, whatever, asparagus, because you didn't want to buy a plastic tent, so you're soaking wet because your asparagus tent didn't work, and you need a tow for your golf cart / Tesla. Well, you know what's not going to come and get you? An electric tow truck. You know what is going to come at you? Probably a Ford F-150 four-wheel drive with dual wheels in the back with a big old-fashioned hook to pull your car out and tow it somewhere where they can legally remove the battery and throw the plastic away. And that's my rant. And if you don't like it, you know what? I'm beyond the point of trying to convince people of these things. But you know what? I'm tired of people trying to convince me that that is the only way forward, because it's not. It really isn't. Oh, by the way, for all you people, just so you know, that don't want a gas-powered car, 90% of your car is still made. The parts that aren't metal are all made by petroleum. It may not be gasoline, but it's a petroleum oil-based thing that makes all the plastic in your cars, all your screens, all this other stuff. So don't tell me about how green a Tesla is when the majority of a Tesla is either steel, which is not green, the way they have to make it, or B, plastic, or rubber, which isn't even rubber. Those tires haven't been rubber since the 1940s. They're all pieces of plastic. Anyway, if you have a comment, put it down. If you like what I said, like it. If you don't like it, then don't. But this is just, I'm tired of driving around, and these are the conversations that I have with almost everybody at every place we go to film. Anyway, I hope that you have a speed shop nearby, which I doubt, but I don't know. Hopefully this goes a different way. I don't know how to make it, because I don't think putting any administration, it doesn't matter who the president, who the Congress is, I think we're just headed down a path that will be destroying our way of life. And maybe that's a good reason why I'm documenting all this stuff. Maybe it's a good reason to have this YouTube channel, because even since I started this YouTube channel a couple years ago, since then a lot of junkyards have been sold or totally scrapped and cleared. Or they're now with companies that don't allow anybody to walk the junkyard and look for the parts they need anymore. You know, so, hey man, I got 25 years left. Probably the last 10 I'll be sitting in a diaper, gurgling and watching TV. So you only have to watch my channel for the next like 15 years, and then it'll probably go away. All right, have a good day. Yeah. Well, at least the rain stopped. Great. Should they subscribe to this channel even if they don't like cars today for this one?
Probably just for this one.